So hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. And so in today's video, we are doing part 2 of the engagement video. Now, I do appreciate that some of you are struggling because obviously listening to them is a little bit difficult, which I do understand. So what I would possibly say is when you see their lips moving, mute it. Because the main thing is not necessarily just about what they say, but it's also their micro expressions. Look at the way they're looking at each other, just their body language in a sense. So if you are struggling to hear their voice, because unfortunately I do have to show you, because a lot of the things that I talk about are some of the things that the way they say things or the way they look. So to do this video, I do have to show the engagement video. So I do appreciate that a lot of you are struggling with that. I do appreciate your patience, but this is the way that I can show you step by step some of the things that I have noticed. Now, I also want to add, a lot of people got a little bit confused by the Botswana thing. It's possible that as I was talking, my brain didn't quite say what I wanted to say. So even though, yes, they did get, well, okay, they say they got engaged at the cottage, I believe that something happened in Botswana, whether they were under the influence and they just decided to do just to get married over there, or whether they got engaged over there. And a lot of people got a bit confused about that. So that is what I was trying to say. But possibly in my brain fart moment, I didn't quite say it correctly. The other thing as well is that I don't pertain to be correct. The only people that genuinely really know what's right and what's wrong are the two people that are the people that are involved. What I'm giving you is my perspective. In the years of my knowledge as a psychotherapist, I'm giving you the things that I have learned and the way I've learned them, to look at the way people are responding to questions, not necessarily the things they say, but the things they don't say, the way they act, the way they don't act, or you take that as you will. You know, there are going to be other YouTubers out there that believe different things. That's okay too. This is how you inform your decision. You're getting every angle, and then you, as the viewer, you can take what you want and leave the rest. I love that saying. You know, it's like with everything. It's like, you know, what things apply to you, what things you think, you know what, that's relevant, or I've seen the evidence of that. And then you can then inform your own decision. You don't have to watch a YouTuber and then absolutely believe everything they're saying, because you have your own brain. You can believe that everything they're saying is true. You can believe that. You can believe that everything they're saying is a complete and utter lie. You can believe she was pregnant. You can believe she wasn't. Entirely your choice. All I'm doing is giving you my perspective, as along with other YouTubers, they give their perspective too. And we're all very different. So that being said, this is part 2. So grab your drink of choice, whatever that may be, drop it in the comments to let me know what you're sitting back and relaxing with. And don't forget, you can add a little something to that drink of choice, because as the flag says behind me, it is 5 o'clock somewhere. So grab your drink and let's dive right in. So before I start, a few of you have said that you don't understand why I'm looking to the left and I'm not talking to the camera. My laptop is to the left here. I am watching the engagement interview and then I'm coming back to you guys and talking. So if it looks like I'm not talking to you, it is because I am looking at the engagement video. I'm watching this as I'm talking to you guys, for those of you who are a little bit confused as to why I'm not always looking at the camera. That is why. For the most part, I do try to look at you, but for this, I have to look at the engagement interview, and then I have to obviously give you my perspective as it goes along. So I hope that clears that up. So So here we go.
And Megan, given your acting and the profile you had, you'd already been involved in various causes, you've been an ambassador for UN Women. What about this new role? I mean, you're going to...
Well, straight away, we've got the first, mistruth here is that she was never an ambassador for UN Women. And the thing is, you can actually tell by her face, it's very stony face, and it's like, She knows, obviously, that this is an embellishment of what happened. She will know that. Harry's looking at her quite intently here, as if to say, I'm looking at you to see how you're going to respond to this. So yeah, that's very interesting that straight away she gets this, yeah, you know, this is what you were. Because the other thing as well is everything is over the internet. And this is what's crazy with these two, is the fact that they've lied so openly. But there's so much evidence out there. But I think they play on the misinformation, the disinformation. They create it to be like, I've seen a lot of people, oh, that must be AI, oh, that's been edited. It's almost like they'll create the narrative that the things that are coming up that are true, oh, they're not true. But everything they say is completely true. So yeah.
Have a bigger platform, a bigger voice. What do you want to do with it?
I mean, how...
Sing.
Can you imagine? No, I'm not a singer.
So Harry jumps, he looks down. As soon as that question is asked, he looks down. That is usually indicative of that's something that you don't want to think about, that is unpleasant. Most people, when they do something called eye blocking, which is where they kind of do that, it's something that's not pleasant. Now, that could be recalling an unpleasant memory. It can be that. Like I've said, with body language, especially when you're looking at that, you're looking at a cluster of things. You're not just looking at one thing. Also, you need to get their baseline. So this is why I would know that probably looking at this in the beginning, even though I did believe that there was some mistruths and something going on here, but for the most part, until you get to know them and their tells, you don't necessarily know what their baseline is, which is like when they tell the truth, you can see they're telling the truth, and when they're not telling the truth, it's very apparent. So there is something, and then Harry jumps straight into let's be a joker. So he cuts in. And I think there's something around that question that he was uncomfortable with. So he jumps in with a joke.
No. I think what's been really exciting as we talk
about... So then look straight away, sorry that I have to, there's just so much. And then he goes straight into, after the joke, biting his lip. And that's another tell with Harry. With Harry, it is he licks his lips quite a lot. He swallows, he bites his lip. These are signs to me that he's uncomfortable, that he's got some anxiety there. So there is something around that question that that he didn't like, that he was very uncomfortable with. And we're now going to go into her word salad.
Transition of this really exciting as we talk about the transition of this out of my career but into the role, is that, as you said, the causes that have been very important to me I can focus even more energy on, because very early out of the gate I think you realize once you have access or a voice that people are willing to listen to, with that comes a lot of responsibility, which I take seriously. And at the same time, I think in these beginning few months and now being boots on the ground in the UK, I'm excited to just really get to know more about the different communities here, smaller organizations who are working on the same causes.
So he agrees with that, and I would say that's a moment where he is quite truthful when she says, you know, that's a lot of responsibility. He straight away kind of goes, So he actually does believe that. I think he does believe that there is a lot of responsibility with the job that he's doing. So he does believe that.
I think in these that I've always been passionate about under this umbrella. And also being able to go around to the Commonwealth, I think it's just the beginning of a...
There's a lot to do.
Really?
There's a lot to do.
See, Harry then looks at the interviewer. So there was something there where he's looking at the interviewer to see how that was received.
Also,
see, she's doing a lot of swallowing. You notice this with Megan when she's out of her comfort zone, when she's not confident in what she's talking about. She swallows a lot, she blinks a lot, she rambles about pretty much nothing. It's like she loves the sound of her own voice. But this is also indicative of one of two things. You're either very passionate about what you're talking about, or you are just trying to fill the space. You're uncomfortable, and I would say it's the latter here. She's uncomfortable with the line of questioning. But that's not necessary to say that she's being deceptive. This could also be the fact that, you know, this is about a role that she's not used to. But knowing what we now know about Megan is the fact that she is narcissistic, I believe, that there is an arrogance, like she thinks she knows everything. So this says to me that there's possibly this slight deception here, because she doesn't actually believe what she's actually saying. So she's trying to make it sound convincing.
And it's an immense change. You're getting a new country out of it, a husband, obviously, but also giving up your
nice,
career.
Yes, that's nice. Yes. But I don't see it as giving anything up. I just see it as a change.
It's a new challenge. It's a new
chapter, right? And also keep in mind, I've been working on my show for 7 years.
That was really bizarre to me when I watched this moment when he reacts, and obviously she doesn't see it, but he literally shudders, and he creates it to be as if it's a joke, but there is just something there. You just, to me, you wouldn't do that. You know, you're engaged to apparently the love of your life, and he shudders, but he does it in a way that's kind of like he does it almost like instinctively, but then creates it to be a joke. So I'm just going to play that back here a bit slowly so you can see it. So yeah, so the moment he shudders, she doesn't see that. She sees like the tail end of it, and then what he says is, "That sounds nice, doesn't it?" And then she kind of reiterates, "That sounds nice." So why shudder? Why shudder? Why go ooh, and then go, "Oh, that sounds nice"? That's completely opposite to. So this is where you have this is body language misalignment. So there is, Harry is saying one thing, but his body is doing something different. I would say that shudder was. So this tells us that there is definitely something here where this getting married thing, getting engaged, I believe, there was something that created this engagement. I genuinely, my intuition tells me, this was not a genuine engagement. This was an engagement that was orchestrated. So whether it be that something happened that forced the engagement, but I don't believe in Harry's mind this is something that he actually wants. I think he's trying to convince himself, and again, this is just my opinion, he's trying to convince himself it's what he wants, but I don't believe it is, or was in this moment.
7 years. So we were very, very fortunate to be able to have that sort of longevity on a series. And for me, once we hit the 100 episode marker, I thought, you know what, I have ticked this box, and I feel really proud of the work I've done there. And now it's time to, as you said, work as a team with you. Yeah. I just see it as a change.
It's a new challenge.
It's a new chapter, right? And also keep in mind, I've been working on my show for 7 years. So we were.
And that's interesting as well. Again, the things that she says, I've been working on my show. Now, usually people that are in a show that they're not really the main character, because she's not, would say, I've been working on the show. Generally speaking, this is how you would word something. But she says, I've been working on my show for 7 years. So that shows you, in a sense, how she sees herself, her sense of importance, that she sees herself as an important person, especially within the show, in the industry. Because if we're being completely honest here, it was a cable show. She was, in my opinion, not a main character. I think she's something that you generally call, I think it's called the fluffer, which is almost like it's the sexual element to the show. What you believe, what you want to believe in that regards in her, but that's generally what they tend to bring people like Megan in for. She's the love interest. So she's not really generally an important character, and that tells you, because if she wasn't in Suits, the show would have been probably just as equally successful. You tend to find that the main characters are the ones that really make the show. So without them, the show wouldn't generally be probably as popular, because there's something that they bring. With Megan, I'm not saying that she was, I mean, obviously it's difficult to say this now because a lot of us don't like her, but I've watched some of it. I don't think she was awful. I've seen worse actresses and actors out there, but I also don't think she's a particularly very good actress. I don't think she's very convincing. I think she kind of plays herself generally in a lot of roles. So yeah.
But do you have that sense of responsibility, Prince Harry, for what you're asking Megan to do?
Of course, that sense of responsibility was essentially from day one, or maybe a couple of months in, when I suddenly realised, actually, this is, I've
See, she's jaw clenching here, so I don't know what this is about, but this sense of responsibility, there's something here that, again, she's not very comfortable in, because if you watch, she clenches her jaw. Now, a lot of the time when people do that, that is because they're holding in some emotion, whether it be upset, whether it be frustration, anger. They tend to clench their jaw, and that is one of her tells. I've noticed that when she's quite angry, or she's trying to hold in, or in a sense probably to keep the mask going, it's like we do that to stop something from coming out generally, and she's definitely doing that a lot.
I know that I'm in love with this girl, and I hope that she's in love with me, but we still had to sit down on the sofa, and I still had to have some pretty, frank conversations with her to say, look, what you're letting yourself in for it's a big deal, and it's not easy for anybody, but I know that, at the end of the day, she chooses me and I choose her. And therefore, whatever we have to tackle together or individually will always be us together as a team.
See, I mean, I'm not saying that people don't tend to say this type of thing. I know I'm in love with this person, but it almost feels as if he's trying to sound convincing, like he's trying to convince the interviewer or even anyone that's watching. I know I'm in love with this girl. But what's interesting is that he calls her a girl, and yet apparently when William said, you're rushing into this with this girl, or something along those lines, apparently Harry was furious. So I'm wondering, actually, if a lot of the things that have come out in the media in regards to the things that possibly William has said are things that he said. And even after this interview, I'm wondering if she's critiqued some of the things Harry said in the interview. So then when William has possibly said something, because even if he's heard Harry say it, so he thinks it's an okay thing to say, Harry is then, in a sense, projected and transferred what has happened to him with Meghan picking him up on something, and he's gone after William for this very same thing. That's very common with this type of behaviour. So
I think she's capable
so
of...
nicely said, isn't it?
I don't know. But she's capable of anything. And together, as I said, there's a hell of a lot of stuff and work that needs doing.
She's so capable of anything. Oh, Harry, if only you knew now what you knew back then, what you knew now. But she's kind of like, oh, thank you. And somebody did pick up, and I will agree. Look at how, in a sense, how sort of demure, almost submissive she's trying to come across here. But actually, in a lot of her answers, they're overly confident in some of her answers. So again, it doesn't quite match the way that she's trying to portray herself. There's definitely a huge difference between the way she's acting and in the way to Catherine. And okay, appreciating that they're very different people. However, Catherine, it was 8 years. So, Catherine was well versed in kind of the things that were happening within the royal family. So in a way, you'd think Catherine would be a little bit more confident in some of her responses. But it shows that Meghan, that she's in there 5 minutes and already she's kind of acting as if she's, you know, she's got all, you know, yeah, we're going to be doing this, that and the other, and you know, she's super confident. But yeah.
At the moment for us it's going to be making sure that our relationship is always put first, but no, look, both of us have passions for wanting to make change for good, and you know, with lots of young people running around the Commonwealth, that's where we're going to spend most of our time, hopefully.
And it was really one of the first things.
She takes a sigh here. So again, she doesn't like this. This is kind of almost like as in like whatever Harry is saying here, there's just something that she doesn't like here.
We connected on. It was one of the first things we started talking about when we met, was just the different things that we wanted to do in the world and how passionate we were about seeing change. I think that was that's what got date 2 in the books, probably. Different things that
I don't believe this. I think, well, I say I don't believe it. I think that this is something, obviously, because obviously we know now that she changed her Wikipedia to put in humanitarian. So we definitely know that she was working out the things that Harry was interested in to create that as something that she can have in alignment with him. But I don't actually believe, like when she turns to him and says, this is one of the first things we were talking about. Now, generally speaking, if this were true, you would possibly, you know, turn to your partner, you know, but then a lot of the time you would look back at the interviewer, because you're confident in what you're saying, but they really, both of them really seem to look at each other as if to get validation in what they're saying. And so what I think a lot of the time that's happening here is she's spitballing. And I think that there's a couple of times Harry's even done that. And then they look to each other for approval. Like, is that okay, what I said? Because if you watch this here, where she says, well, this is one of the first things we kind of started talking about. Harry, there's slight flickering of like, was it? And then he kind of goes, and then he starts licking his lips and biting his lip again. So I don't believe this actually happened. I'm not saying they didn't have a conversation about this, but I would probably say that they most definitely probably got together in lust. There was probably the date, they were drinking heavily, probably other things, and I think it got probably very heated very quickly, I'd say. I'm not saying they didn't have conversations about things, but I don't necessarily believe it was the way this is being depicted.
Plenty to talk about.
Children?
Not currently, no. No, of course, you know, I think you know, one step at a time, and hopefully we'll start a family in the near future.
Have you met each other's families, I imagine?
Yes, his family's been so welcoming, and
You've met quite a few of them, actually.
I have, on both sides of his family, his mom's side as well, which has been really important to me too. But
yeah, again, this is what got date 2, and I don't believe this. I literally, with their body language, I don't believe that is what got date 2. I think date 2 was probably sexual. I'd probably say that obviously at this point we know that she wore Diana's perfume, so I think there was definitely some trauma bonding that went on here. But I do not believe the way that she's sort of giggly and silly, and you know, it's given the age that she is. Harry just looks very uncomfortable. He just doesn't look as if it's almost like he's not really recalling what she's talking about. So I would say that she is making this up to some degree as she kind of goes along.
Yes, the family has been great, and over the past year and a half, we've just had a really nice time getting to know them and progressively helping me feel a part of not just the institution, but also part of the family, which has been really, really special.
Trying to track them down and make sure that they're around at the same time that she's popping in without telling too many people. And so we've actually done incredibly well to make sure that you've met all the key people.
So there's a huge amount of blinking from Harry here. See, with this, it's like, I mean, obviously I do think that they have, you know, she has met the family, but I do wonder if there has been something that's kind of going on behind the scenes here, that it's not quite as all lovely and magical and amazing as what they're kind of trying to make it sound. Because again, Harry looks uncomfortable. He's biting his lip, he's blinking a lot. I would say that yes, they've met, again, there's something about the story again, and she goes into this elaborate of how amazing it is, and you know, and I think that okay, that's that could be seen as normal, but given the way he's responding, so the way she's responding, there's some misalignment here again.
I mean, a lot of the time that you've been together in this last year and a half, you've been at home a lot.
Yes. No, we've well, yeah, we had to sort of reverse the whole process, and cozy nights in front of the television, cooking dinner with you know, just the two of us by ourselves in our little cottage, rather than going out for dinner and being seen in public.
I'd say that's truthful, but she's looking down, which says that there is also something there that she's not particularly comfortable with, in what he's sort of saying. So something is there as well.
So we reversed the whole process, which is it's provided different opportunities, and it's made us a hell of a lot closer in a shorter space of time.
That's true.
That's, you know, without question. So, you know, if anybody else at home is listening, then maybe, you know, slow down on the dates and maybe spend more time at home.
So she's clenching her jaw again. I'm not so strictly sure that I believe this to some degrees, cozy nights in thing. I think again, this is I think he's. It's possible that they have been in, but again, I think it's almost like the way he's making it sound a little bit more romantic tells me that there is something there as well. To be honest, the whole thing, I believe, majority is like 75% of this is exaggerated, I feel. I don't believe that the things that they're saying are the truth. I think they pick oh my goodness, they pick elements of the truth, but then they embellish on that truth.
But no, it's for us, it's an opportunity to really get to know each other.
See, what I would possibly say here as I'm listening to this, I think that because we know that she loves the limelight, we know that she's wanted that from day dot. Harry, not so much. He knows his job, but I don't think he's as comfortable in the limelight as much as what she is. So what I would probably say is that yes, they have been at home, but the cozy nights in is not as much as what he's portraying it to be, probably because she's probably wanted to go out and about. So I think that's why, because you can tell by there's something with her that she doesn't like this. So I think that's probably what it really is that yes, they have been at home a lot, but there's been some tension because she's probably wanted to go out and about to be seen with him, because that's what she wants. We know that. So that's what I would probably guess.
Without other people, you know, looking or trying to take photos on their phones and all that kind of stuff. You know, with that comes with the job, comes with the role. But
okay, so there was definitely something there. I'm going to put that up here and slow it down. Her reaction there when he says about the phones and going out and about, the way she looks there, she looks to her left, but there's a flicker of annoyance. I'll slow that down as much as I can for you to see that, but there's definitely a flicker of annoyance there.
To really get to know each other without other people, you know, looking or trying to take photos on their phones and all that kind of stuff. You know, with that comes with the job, comes with the role. But where possible.
Yeah. And we were able to really get to know each other that way, but also then to go and have friends over for dinner, or to go to his family for tea, or any of those sorts.
Yeah, so I think a lot of that as well is that because he's creating it to seem like they spent a lot of time on their own, there was no one else kind of really involved. So now she's got to then add in, oh yeah, because now we've had friends over. It's almost as if it's like creating this picture of, you know, we've had the family round and we've gone round there for tea. Yeah, there was definitely, so she did not like that. Annoyed her. There was definitely a drop of the mask there.
Things, and even any of those sort of things, and even, you know, just to take the time to be able to go on long country walks. And
I don't believe they went on country walks. I really don't believe that. I actually think that again she's creating this more romantic narrative, because again, when she says that, Harry is almost, you can see there's almost like a flicker of I'm not sure, and then all he can kind of go is yeah. I think that, yeah, because in one hand he's saying, yeah, we stayed indoors, we got to know each other, and then she's kind of like, oh yeah, but we had friends around, we went round their family for tea, we went on these lovely long country walks and got to know each other. You know, I'm surprised you didn't throw in that they've been on picnics and you know, and you know, slept under the stars, and you know, oh, they've already mentioned that about Botswana, haven't they? So yeah, so they're really trying to build this picture of this really lovely, wonderful getting to know each other, but bearing in mind that this is all happening in the space of a few months. You know, was it 6 months? So again, it's not long enough to really get to know somebody, in my opinion.
And just talk.
We've been all over the place.
Have you met the Queen?
I have, yes.
A couple of times.
Yeah,
What was
it's true,
that
a
like?
couple of times. It's incredible. I think, you know, to be able to meet her through his lens, not just with his honor and respect for her as the monarch, but the love that he has for her as his grandmother. All of those layers have been so important for me.
I have never disliked a word as much as I now dislike layers, thanks to her. She just cannot answer a question normally. Have you met the Queen? Yes. She's absolutely wonderful. She's a lovely lady. I have the utmost respect for her. But then we go into this, oh, it's not just about that. It's about the fact, it's not just about the monarch. It's about meeting the grandmother and the way he is and his love and respect for her. It's like, why? That's not even necessary. It's like, again, it's like she does this where she tries to come across like the all-knowing oracle almost of everything. But it's the way that she behaves, in the sense of, you know, the layers. What does that even mean? Layers of what?
For me, so that when I met her, I had such a deep understanding and, of course, incredible respect for being able to have that time with her. And we've had a really, she's an incredible woman.
And the corgis took to you straight away.
That's true.
For the last 33 years been barked at. This one walks in absolutely nothing.
Just laying on my feet during tea. It was very sweet.
And it's just like, oh.
That has to be a good sign. Speaking of dogs, have you brought yours to the UK?
Well, I have 2 dogs that I've had for quite a long time, both my rescue pups, and one is now staying with very close friends, and my other little guy is, yes, he's in the UK. He's been here for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, see that again. You can tell by her body language that again something isn't quite right here. She looks to the left again. There's again a flicker of something. Looks back to Harry for, and obviously we now know the situation with the dog. So I would definitely say that there is something here as well in regards to this.
Okay, let's hope he adjusts well.
I think he's doing just fine.
What was it like introducing Meghan to your father and your brother?
What was it like?
Right, okay, so I don't know whether he didn't expect this question, but for a moment, it's almost as if he doesn't know how to answer this. And again, he's using a filler. And that is usually indicative of not quite knowing what to say. Now, bearing in mind that if your, say, girlfriend meets your partner and it goes amazingly, you would instinctively say, instantly, it went amazing. The fact that there's this almost long-ish pause before saying what he says tells us that actually there's been some reservations. And I'd possibly say it probably wasn't with his dad. I would say it's with his brother, because I would imagine that if she asked the question, what was it like meeting just your dad? He would probably just he would come out and say whatever it is. But I would say there's been some reservation with his brother, which we now know is potentially when William is probably saying, this is moving too fast. Maybe you need to slow this down. So I think there is definitely something here, because you can see he's uncomfortable. You can see that she's looking at him to see what he's about to say. And And then, of course, then he says, then says something really positive, and then she smiles and as if she approves of what he's now saying.
It was exciting. I mean, I've been seeing her for a period of time when I literally didn't tell anybody at all.
Noticed with Harry as well, when I think that one of his tells when he's actually being a little bit dishonest as well, when there's something that's not quite right, is he then starts to gesture a lot more. Now you find that a lot of people, when they use their hands, again, this is not indicative of someone that's being dishonest if that's something that's their baseline. Like we see a lot of different cultures where people use their hands. I use my hands a lot to talk about things. However, if you're somebody that doesn't generally do that an awful lot, but then you do it in certain areas, then there's a reason for that, and it's almost like a reinforcement of what is being said. And a lot of the time people do that because if it's not their baseline, then it tends to mean that they're trying to enforce the story, that something is kind of going on here. So again, I think this is what he's trying to do. He's trying to enforce the story behind the words that he's using, which tells us that potentially this version is not true.
And then William was longing to meet her, and so was Catherine. So
he does a bit of self-soothing. He rubs his leg.
Managed to get that in a couple
there's a lot of
quite a
this.
few
There
times
is some
now.
definite uncomfortableness
And Catherine's
here,
been
which
absolutely
tells us that I genuinely do believe
amazing,
that this
as
version
is William
that
as
he's
well.
now telling us
Fantastic support.
didn't happen the way
And then
it's,
my father's
the way
already
it's
had a
going.
couple of, no, more than that.
We've had
A handful of teas and meetings and all sorts of gatherings over at his place as well. So no, the family together have been absolutely solid support and.
So that's interesting there as well, is that the question was, what was it like meeting your father and brothers? But he doesn't really talk about his dad. He doesn't really talk about anyone specifically. But then he says Catherine's been amazing, as is William, which you would think that if it was William, because that was the question that was asked, then you would say William first. But I would probably say that Catherine has been amazing, so that bit would be true. But I would probably say that actually William has had his reservations. He's not 100% behind this, and this is why Harry is embellishing again on the answer, doing a lot of the gestures, because something isn't quite right here.
My father's already had a couple of, no, more than that. And my grandparents as well have been wonderful throughout this whole process, and they've known for quite some time. So
I'd probably say that's true. I would probably say that they have seen his father probably more than he's seen William. And we now know that obviously Charles was probably a little bit more accepting of Meghan. I think in a sense she was she was attempting to love bomb the whole family. And I would say that Charles probably fell for it initially. And I would say the Queen didn't. I would say William didn't. And I would probably say that Catherine didn't either. But Catherine is a very sweet person, so she probably didn't let it show. So she was trying to be very accepting, and she was probably the mediator in the middle. I would also probably say that Prince Philip was probably just, in all fairness, Prince Philip was probably just being Prince Philip the whole way, probably didn't give opinions either way, or did give opinions and they would be the same as, and so people were kind of like, oh, that's just who he is. But I would say that she wasn't able to love bomb people the way she hoped she could, and so there's definitely, I believe, something within these meetings that didn't quite go. I think the Queen would have been very respectful because she loves Harry. I don't think she would have been very she wouldn't have probably said anything. So around Meghan, she probably would have acted as if she likes her, and I think she did to a degree. I think she tried to like her. I think she tried to accept her. But she's not a stupid woman, and I think Meghan thought that she was some little doddery old lady that could be fooled, and soon started to realise, oh no.
How they haven't told anybody is again a miracle in itself. But no, the whole family have come together and have been a huge amount of support.
They've been amazing.
But that goes against anything, doesn't it? With Harry coming out recently saying that his family were the ones that were dropping, things to the media, throwing these two under the bus. This is Harry's version. But yet he's openly just said here that the royal family have known for some time, his family have known for some time about the two of them, but they've said nothing. They've kept tight-lipped. Well, if they were going to deflect away from any type of behaviour or anything that was going on, then surely that would have been one of the things they would have leaked to the press. But Harry here has said, they kept it stum, they didn't say anything. But later on, Harry's like, oh yeah, but they leak everything all over the place. No, Harry, the leak is your wife. your fiance back then. She's the leak.
And Megan, your parents, do you think, while very happy for you, obviously, do you think they have worried at all about the scale of what you're getting into?
Well, I'm sure at the onset.
So here we have Harry blinking. She's just looking very intently at the interviewer, because obviously we now know at the moment, which is very odd, because when you watch Catherine and William's interview, with William at one point is asked if he went to Catherine's father to ask permission for a hand in marriage, and William openly says, I was very anxious and very nervous, so I actually spoke to Catherine first, but then he went to his dad. And that shows you the type of person that William is. He's very respectful. He has that level of respect for Catherine's father. Here, well, we also know, which to me is very odd, that they never went to Harry never went to Thomas to ask for his hand in marriage. So the reason being, I think, is because obviously we know at this point, because Harry is about to go on about how wonderful Doria is, I think Meghan has lied about Thomas. This is my personal opinion, just in given what I know. I think she's told Harry something very dishonest about that side of her family. I would potentially say that she has said that there's been something that obviously I can't mention on this channel. I think she's probably, because we now know that she's acted as if she's the one that's put herself through college, put herself through uni. She's the one that's worked her way up the ladder, and getting the positions that she has in suits, whatever. We now know that's not true. But I think that's the things that she would have told Harry. And I think that what she would have also told him is that her family are only interested in her money, and almost creating this victim narrative of she's this poor little girl who's had this horrendous family, and she's tried to separate from them. Now, I believe the only reason that Doria was included in this, because Doria, in my opinion, is also a grifter. I think she did it with Thomas. And again, this is my opinion. And I think that Meghan has learnt a lot of the things that she's learnt from her. And Doria is the one that would keep the secret. So any of the lies that are being told, I think this is why Doria ended up with some money. And again, just my opinion. Could be wrong, but I don't think I am.
Both my parents and my close friends were concerned because we got very quickly swept up in a media storm that, as I shared, was not part of my life before that, but they also had never seen me so happy.
So again, here we go. So she hunches up her shoulders there at one point where she says, my friends were very concerned. What I would possibly say is that there was probably an element of that, but I think there was an element of being concerned in regards to how quickly this was moving along. She was getting involved very quickly. And what I would also say is that knowing Meghan the way we now know Meghan, is that she would have got very angry with anyone that critiqued how fast this was moving, and she probably would have discarded them, because her goal was to secure Harry. She wouldn't have wanted anyone coming in not supporting that venture. So I think anyone that sort of said to her, this is moving along very quickly, I'm very concerned for you, she would have been, yeah, you're out. And so I definitely think there was some element of that, of conversations around that, where somebody has said things to her, but not about the concern regarding the media. I don't think that for 1 second, because at this point there was really nothing. So I think that in the beginning, because nobody really knew, I think it was because of the fact that it was moving very, very quickly, and people have said to her, this is moving very quickly. Are you sure? And so she would not have liked that. So I think that there's an element of that. And again, look at Harry's face. He is very... This is not, to me, this is not somebody that is sitting with the love of his life, talking about their engagement, their future. There's moments where he does talk about things and he lights up a little bit, but not necessarily really about her. But but there is just something that you can see within his face that he just doesn't look happy.
And I think also once my friends, were able to really meet Harry and my mom, who we've spent a lot of time with, who's so much fun.
See, again, it's the swallowing, it's the, this is when usually what happens is like your throat is getting very dry because there's some anxiety going on here. And again, a lot of the time when narcissists are behaving this way, it's because they're out of their comfort zone. Narcissists want to be in their comfort zone, which is why they isolate you to get you to their comfort zone. This is why when she's over here, she's acted a lot of the time, she's acted a bit more submissive, especially in the beginning. And that's why we saw a lot of the behavior change after the engagement, and especially after the wedding, because she'd secured him and her confidence, the real version of her started to kick in. All of this mask that she's presenting at the minute, this is very difficult in a sense for a narcissist when you're out of your comfort zone. So this is why you're getting the dry throat, a lot of the swallowing is because she's not necessarily believing what she's actually saying.
We've spent a lot of time with. He was so much fun.
Mum's amazing.
It was just yeah.
Right, so I would say that there's probably something here. I think Harry genuinely probably does actually like Doria, because the way you do see that he actually lights up when he talks about her right there. He says her mum's amazing, and his face does change. He does smile with his whole face. So I would probably say that actually he does get on very well with her mum.
Obvious that
Probably to do with this.
it was just obvious that no matter what we were being put through, that it was just temporary and that we were going to be able to get through that. So everyone was really happy with me. He's talked to my dad a few times, hasn't been able to meet him just yet.
I don't believe that's true. I do believe that they had possibly one conversation, but I'm not even sure if that happened. But again, there is something that's not quite right here. Harry, I don't believe, whatever she's saying here, this isn't true. You can see by Harry's body language again, nothing about her dad. Nothing positive about her dad at all. So that says a lot to me.
But it's all been worth every effort.
Yeah, it's been great.
Your ring.
Oh yes.
Tell us about your ring.
The ring is obviously yellow gold because that's her favourite.
So it's like, tell us about your ring. So the interviewer's asking the question to Meghan, and Meghan doesn't answer. Harry does. So it's like she's looking to Harry for the and Harry answers. But she talks about here how wonderful this ring is, and yet the first chance she got, she changed it.
And the main stone itself, a source from Botswana, and the little diamonds either side are from my mother's jewellery collection.
Did you see that bit there when he says the little diamonds either side? She actually looks down and almost scrutinising it as if to say, I can't see them. It's like I'll play that back here, and you can see that, but she kind of just looks down as if she's like scrutinising the ring to look at the two tiny diamonds either side. Again, it's just a flash of a change.
To make sure that she's with us on this crazy journey together. And
it's beautiful, and he designed it. It's incredible.
So again, she's talking here like, oh, he designed it, it's beautiful, which is such a sentimental thing. If anyone designs an engagement ring or chooses it themselves, it's a sentimental thing. Why on earth would you then go and change the ring and design it yourself and change it? And not only that, change it to look very similar to your previous engagement ring to your ex-husband. Who does that? Narcissist.
yeah,
Yeah.
make sure it stays on that finger.
Of course.
What does it mean to you, Meghan, to have those stones on your finger that once belonged to Princess Diana?
I think everything about Harry's thoughtfulness and the inclusion of that, and obviously not being able to meet his mom, it's so important to me to.
This is a bit of a, this struck me as a little bit, I mean, it was not like odd, but it was very similar to what Catherine and William had said. William talks about the engagement ring, obviously, that Catherine has, being that it was his mother's ring. And he said, it was important to me for her to, to have part of her on this sort of journey with us. And then Catherine talks about, again, how important it was for her, because obviously, is to sort of have her sort of there around with having the ring. And their answer is, to me, very similar to that. And we now know that they, especially Meghan, she does mirror and copy people. She can't think of anything herself. Now, I'm not saying that this isn't genuine, but again, now knowing what we know now, I generally don't believe this is genuine. I think that either she's watched their engagement interview, and so she wants to make sure that that's brought in, because it's very similar.
To know that she's a part of this with us, and I think in being able to meet his aunts and also to be like Julia and just different people who are so important to his mom, I'm able to in some way know a part of her through them, and of course through him. And
see, again, Harry's body language is not this. It's not matching the way this is supposed to, in a sense, be. It's like this should be such a happy occasion. She's grinning from ear to ear, but we know why, because she's caught a prince of the UK. But Harry just does it. It's just not the same. It's just not matching the same energy. It's just not there.
It's incredibly special, and to be able to have this, which sort of links where you come from, and Botswana, which is important to us, and it's perfect.
What do you think your mother would have thought of Meghan or said about Meghan?
Oh, they'd be thick as thieves.
But look at Harry's body language. Again, his legs are sort of moving back and forth. There is again some anxiety in the responses. Whether or not he wants to believe that, I don't know. But I generally don't think. Well, I know I believe, and I'm sure all of you believe, that they would not be thick as thieves. In fact, if anything, if Diana hadn't unfortunately passed when she did, I actually don't think Meghan would have got her foot in the door. I think Harry would be a completely different person, and I don't believe that she would have liked somebody like Meghan. I think that Diana would have seen through Meghan. I think she would have absolutely adored Catherine, but I don't think she would have liked Meghan at all, and I don't think they'd be thick as thieves at all.
Without question, I think she would be over the moon, jumping up and down, so excited for me. But then, as I said, it would have probably been best friends with Meghan. So no, it is days like today when I really miss having her around and miss being able to share the happy news. But with the ring and with everything else that's going on, I'm sure she's with us. I'm sure she's with us. Jumping up and down somewhere else.
Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, thank you both very much.
And there we go, and that's the end of it. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. I hope you know how much I love all of you putting me through that. And of course, I've also had people now asking me to do some of the other interviews. Don't make me do it. I will do it. I will suffer it. I mean, if there are any of the other interviews that you would like me to do, sort of doing part 1, part 2, and break it down for you, I will do that for you. But there you have it. And I think that's the thing. In my opinion, like I've said, I do not believe that this engagement was genuine. I genuinely don't. I firmly feel that this was orchestrated, whether it was set up to happen. Something went on behind the scenes, and it was forced. Harry's body language doesn't match somebody who's found the love of his life. Something, in my opinion, he probably has been searching for the right person. You've got to remember that Harry's a very damaged individual, but I do think that he has wanted what William has got. He's wanted a wife very similar to Catherine. And I do think that is something subconsciously that's always been playing out with him, and a lot of that does always sometimes stem from losing a parent very quickly. But then what can happen is that you want to almost replace that feeling, so you're looking for, in some ways, a mother figure. So then you have someone like Meghan who comes along and does the love bombing, wears her perfume, aligns with his ideals and the things that he wants out of life. So he thinks he's got a teammate. He thinks he's got somebody there, boots on the ground, somebody that's going to be there with him. And it's deeply sad to me that actually that was the polar opposite to what she wanted. And I think deep down, Harry would probably know that. I think he probably didn't quite realise what he was really getting himself into. But I would say that there have been elements where her real behaviour would have come out before this interview. So I think that this engagement, in a sense, was a forced engagement, in my opinion. I think the wedding was forced. And I think then possibly they fell into what I would call a business relationship, where it's kind of like, okay, well, you know what, I will help you get out of the royal family. We'll go to America. We'll set everything up there. You know, we'll be king and queen over there, type thing. Even though I know Americans don't recognise royals, and I'm not saying that that's what I believe. I'm saying this is what I think that this would have been happening for Meghan. She would have wanted to be part of Hollywood elite. She believed that they would have gone over there and literally taken over. And of course it didn't happen, and what we've had is this narc revenge ever since. If these two people wanted to leave the royal family, if they didn't, I think they wanted their cake and eat it. I think they wanted the best of both worlds, but that didn't happen. And so what we've had is them attacking the royal family ever since, and I've done various videos on this, as you can see. So let me know what you think in the comments, as always. I know you do, and I appreciate your feedback. But like I say, if I have got something slightly wrong, just please understand. I've said this before, I am going through the menopause. I have brain fog. Sometimes what goes in my brain doesn't necessarily come out of my mouth. So you know, just try not to critique me on that. So yeah, so please give this a thumbs up if you have enjoyed this video. And don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell to all so you don't miss future uploads. Now, I'm going to talk about something just a little bit seriously. I'm not going to go on about it, but I am going to talk about it briefly because I have had some people asking me to address this. It has come to my attention that there are... well, okay, so most of you know that have stayed with me from the beginning that I went through some bullying and doxing about 1.5 years ago. It was pretty horrendous. I was bullied off Twitter. Some horrible things were said about me that were not true. And I just want to clear some things up. I know for the most part, people that follow me will not believe this. And I do appreciate, and I'm so super grateful to the fact that you don't believe some of the things that are being said about me. But for those of you who are new here, that haven't got to know me, and possibly you are seeing this because there are YouTubers talking about it, it's important to me that you understand that what is being said is not true. I want to clarify just a few things. I'm not on Twitter. I haven't been on Twitter since I left Twitter about 18 months ago. I do not bully anybody, no matter who or what pretends to be me. It is not me. I have never bullied anybody, never will bully anybody. Neither does anyone that's connected to me in the sense of my family, whether it be my sons. Talking about my son on social media, attacking them on social media, attacking me on social media is the definition of bullying, and it's not okay. I don't support that, and if you are somebody that feels that that's okay, then please leave this platform because it's not something that I align with. I would never support anyone bullying anybody else, which is why I don't ever come on and name anybody that says the things that they say about me, because then that makes me no better than the people that are doing it. In my opinion, people that do this, there is something going on for them. They are probably very unhappy or something, and I, as a therapist especially, and as a human being, I don't condone that, and I certainly wouldn't condone anyone who wants to support me go across and attack them. So it would be nice if I had the same respect back, but sadly I don't. Some of the comments that I've had coming through have been pretty horrendous. Again, I'm being accused of being a fake therapist. Again, I reiterate, I'm not. I'd be silly to come on a platform like this for as long as I have now, because it's been nearly 2 years, and work with people behind the scenes. My clients that work with me, they know my qualifications. They can see them. They've asked. I've shown them. You know, I am a qualified person-centered therapist. I qualified at Brighton University. I went through my introductory, my intermediate, and I have been doing this for a very long time. I understand that people can have reservations, but I'd like to think that in the time that I've been here, that I've shown you in the way that I word things and the way that I am as a person, that I'm not a bully and I'm not dishonest. You don't have to believe me. It's not my job to convince people, but I do want to clear those things up because it's very difficult to hear or see some of the things that are being said. And I know that some people say ignore it, but I think when it's been going on for as long as it's been going on, there does come a point when it does start to affect. I'm a human being, regardless of what I do as a job. I'm still a human being. But the biggest thing is when I see things being said about my sons, that is where I draw the line. If you want to come at me, if you want to hate me, that's fine. It's your prerogative. I'm not expecting everyone to like me. But when you start attacking someone's children, albeit even if they're not children, but they're still my children, they're my babies, regardless of how old they are, then, you know, it's very cruel and it's very hurtful. It's like, to me, that you don't need to go there. I hope, like I said, that I have shown you in the time that I've been here that I am a genuine person. However, if you truly believe that I am capable of that, then you don't have to support me. I think using a platform to name somebody and accuse them of something with no evidence, because there isn't any evidence, because I haven't done it, that is the definition of bullying, you know. And I would ask you to just be better. You know, I would invite anyone that believes that I am this person. If you want to come and talk to me, my email address is up here. I would happily have a conversation with you. I've not fallen out with anybody just because I don't necessarily work with that person anymore, or we don't see each other anymore. It just means that these things, time passed, and these things happen. You know, sometimes you meet people and you're friends for a while, and then just life happens and you're not so much friends anymore. You can have differences of opinions, and sometimes that's enough to break up a friendship. It doesn't mean there's anything untoward or anything bad. It just means it is what it is. But I think the sad thing is with social media is that people make assumptions and then they run with it. So all I would ask is, if something is being said about me and you hear it, see it, ask for evidence. Don't just believe that somebody is accusing somebody of something, but with no evidence to back that up. You don't have to get involved, and I actually invite you to not get involved. You can support everybody. There's enough people on this platform. Everyone can support everybody. You don't have to pick a side unless you want to. That's fine too. But I just want to say, just from my perspective, I appreciate everybody. You know, we all have a part to play in this, and what we are doing is trying to raise awareness to the lies that are being said on the mainstream media and in the forum of the world of celebrities. You know, let's stick to that instead of just attacking each other. It's you know, that's not really what we should be doing. So I hope that clears things up. This is the only time I'm going to talk about it. If I get any comments that come through asking about it, I will delete them, because I don't want to talk about this publicly in the comments. I want to keep the comments about what we're doing here, all about the positivity and like shining a light on let's say the behaviour of Harry and Meghan and other celebrities. So please don't ask me. If you want to email me to ask me privately, if you want a little bit more clarification on some of the things that I've said, I would happily do that. Like I say, I invite any YouTuber, if they want to talk to me, drop me an email. I will happily do that to clear some things up if there are things that you've seen that you're not quite sure of. But what I say is, please don't attack me publicly, because what it does is it sends your fan base after me, and it is upsetting. You know, it's not nice to see where you're constantly attacked and told that you're certain things. You know, like I say, I'm a human being and I have feelings, and sometimes I'm fine, and sometimes you'll catch me on a bad day, and it will upset me. So yeah, so that's all I'm going to say, and I hope that clears some things up. If you haven't seen anything, great, but this is just in case you do and you have some questions. So in the meantime, thank you so much for watching this video, and thank you so much for listening and taking the time to listen to what I've been saying here and supporting me. Everything you need to know is in the description box of this video. You can buy me a CUPPA, you can become a member, you can become a Patreon, you can buy some of my bubble merchandise, go and get yourself a cup, a mug. You know, there's lots of other things there that you can buy. You can send me something within the PO box. I get lots of letters and cards through the post, and I do keep and read them all. So yes, everything you need to know is in that description box. So in the meantime, take care. And as always, I love you, I appreciate you, but most of all, I respect you. Mwah. Bye.